Okay. So yesterday we learned in the Mishnah, the halacha was that a ganav pays daled v'hei, arba v'chamisha, if he's tavach u'macha. But we said in order to have a tavach u'macha, you first have to have a gneva. And therefore, if the ganav goes into the Rishus HaBailim, and when he's in the Rishus HaBailim, let's say he slaughters it while he's still in the Rishus HaBailim, or even if he's in the middle of schlepping it in the Rishus HaBailim, but he never got it out of the Rishus HaBailim, and he's Tavach U'Macha before, so he's not a Ganav yet. And he's not going to be Chayev Kefil until he gets out of the Rishus HaBailim, and he's not going to be Chayev for the Shchita, Dal Vehei, because he never got out of the Rishus HaBailim yet. You first have to have a Gneva, which means taking it out of the Rishus HaBailim, and only then can you have a Tvichol Mechira. But we said, let's say he finds the animal outside of the Rishus HaBailim, meaning he found it, I don't know, when it was out eating, and he steals it outside of the Rishus HaBailim, so then it's considered, right when he does a Meshicha, it's considered that he stole it, and he's going to be Chayiv Kefil. And now if he slaughters it, whether he slaughters it outside of the Rishus HaBailim after his Gneva, or even if he goes back into the Rishus HaBailim and slaughters it over there, he's going to be Chayav Dal V'Chamisha because he already stole it when it was outside of the Rishus HaBailim. So that's very simple. In order to be Chayav Dal V'Chamisha, you have to first steal it. Stealing by Mashiach can only be done outside the Rishus HaBailim. Once you do it, okay. Now, over here, the Chayre, Rebbe Lazar is saying a case based on these column, which is simple. Omar Rebbe Lazar, Ra'ohu shehitmin b'chorshim. He saw that the Bailim, I think b'chorshim, he hid the behemoths in the woods, in the field, sort of. Yeah. Not sure what Ra'ohu means. They saw the person, or they saw him. I don't know, maybe the Adim, I'm not sure who's Ra'ohu. But this person himself, Rashi explains, he hid in the woods where there were behemoths, walking around, and he snatched the behemoth from there. So that's the case of the Mishnah, the last case of the Mishnah, that someone steals it when he's outside of the Rishus HaBailim, and then if he's Tavach U'Mocher, he pays Dalad V'Hei. So Ra'ol Shehitman B'Chorishim V'Tavach U'Mocher, Mishalim Tashlume Arba V'Chamisha. So for some reason, the Gemara assumes that he met this behemoth outside, and he sort of just like took it without making Meshicha. And so the Gemara says that if he found it outside and he just slaughtered it outside, he was Tavach U'Macha, right? You understand? It says that he found it while they were, how do you say? Pasturing. Outside. And he was just Tavach U'Macha. So the Gemara understands that he's found the sheep and he just took it and slaughtered it. So Gemara says, hey, so then he never made a Gneva. He just slaughtered it outside of the Rishus HaBailim, but without ever making a Gneva. So even though it was outside the Rishus HaBailim, there was just Tavach, there was never a Gneva. Amai, why is he Chayav Dalvei? Holoi Moshach, he never made He never made a Meshicha. That means he never took it, so he never stole it. That's not enough. So he could it. Yeah, but that's not enough. He didn't pick it up. It's not a kinyan. Holding down a behemoth is not a kinyan. Picking it up is a kinyan. You're schlepping it from one place to the next place is a kinyan. But if he just found it outside and fucked the behemoth and give it a shech, that's not a kinyan. Maybe he's going to be chayiv al tmazik, but he never had a kinyan gneva to become dalad vehei. So Omar Rav Chizda explains that the case that Blaza was talking about was taka shehikisha b'makil, that he didn't just right away grab it and slaughter it, but he took it with a stick to the side or whatever to where he was trying to go, and then he slaughtered it. So that's what he was doing then is that he first stole it and only then did the tvichol mechira, and that's why he's chayav. Put it away, Mush. Sorry. Let's say that.
What does the word hotmin mean?
So that I'm sorry?
What does the word hotmin mean? I'm saying the word wrong.
One more time. Hitmin is hitting, like Melashon Taman. Taman. Right. Here, hitmin is to hide.
Hiding.
And chorshi, hiding, yes. He hid out in the woods. Chorshim is like the choresh, like a yar, sort of.
Really?
And
The word of course. It's a verbal form.
the nun at the end, I think it's really chorsha, they would say in Hebrew. And in Aramaic, that becomes chorshin, I think.
And what is it?
Like a wood outside. Today also, I think, no? So that's the Gemara. So basically, he stole it. So again, so the Gemara understood that he just hid out over there, and he hid out and cut the behema and gave a shech. So he's ready chayed dal vehes. The Gemara says, "Hey, he just slaughtered it, but where was his geneva?" So the Gemara says, "Anachanami, there was a geneva before that he took it b'makel." Adkan be'etzen. We finished the sugya.
The explanation he hit it with a stick. Does that mean he like
That was no. I think he took it to the side.
I mean, wouldn't that be moving then?
Right. That's so. I don't understand why the Gemara in the beginning understood that he didn't move it, and in the end said that he did.
I also think so.
That he hit it with it.
That he hit it with a stick, meaning it didn't move around. I'm guessing they're saying by not moving around, by hitting it with a stick and making it get knocked unconscious.
Oh,
Only could
but
be-
that wouldn't be a geneva. There's no shifa with that.
That's the point. Otherwise, if you read that he moved it with a stick, isn't
That's the
that
obvious answer. You're saying. So what? So why is hitting it with a stick considered a?
no? By hitting it with a stick, there's no Geneva because he hasn't moved it around. I'm saying if he takes it with a stick and moves it, then there is Geneva.
But if there was no geneva, why? What's the answer of the Gemara? The Gemara asked, "Follow Mashach." So what's the answer? Why there was no geneva?
You're saying so he did do.
So I think you would have to have it. The answer would be that he did move it with a stick. Okay.
Rashi says that's like a kinyan, no?
That's the kinyan, but what's the kinyan? He moved it, right? Not just the shaila is if Hikisha literally means hitting it.
Yeah.
Question is, did he hit it and make it move, or did he sort of like hit it and knock it unconscious to make the shechita? So that I don't think that would make a geneva. That wouldn't be.
Isn't that the definition of stealing? When someone robs somebody else, they hit them.
So but we said also if he goes out where the animals are outside eating and he catches it and it's shochet, so technically he stole, but we don't call that stealing because that's not. When we get more specific, so that's not exactly stealing. That's called that he's being mazik. He damaged it. But there was no geneva, and the chiyuv of daled hey, it only when there's first the geneva and then. Okay. Now the Gemara over here. How do I get back down here? The Gemara now has a new issue, and the Gemara has a problem. We know that there's daled v'hei only when someone's a ganav. If someone steals, if someone let's even start with kefil. The halacha is if someone comes in secretly into someone else's house and takes something off the shelf in the middle of the night and runs away, and then we find him, so he's chayav kefil. But let's say someone meets someone in the street and just snatches his bags out of his hands, then he doesn't have to pay kefil. That's what's called a gazlan. There's a difference between a ganav and a gazlan. A ganav is someone who robs, and a gazlan would be, what's the right translation? It's different, huh? I don't know. A snatcher.
I think it's the other way around. The other guy's a burglar, and this one's a thief. Sorry,
Yeah.
this one's a robber. The act of
A
robbery.
burglar is a gazlan.
Burglar is no. Burglar
It's a
is
gun.
It's secret.
Gun.
Really.
It's
Secret.
yeah.
It's into the house.
Uh-huh.
A robber does it with force, so he'd be a gosler.
Uh-huh. Could be.
Okay, good. That's good.
Okay. I had a fashla like that when I was in the yeshiva in Minsk. So we used to learn with the Russian kids with Be'er Gola. And I had a chavrusa. I was 13 or 14 years old. I wasn't. He was maybe 12. And we were learning Hamafkid. And it was like every Sunday. So we began Hamafkid. We were already like down on the bottom of Amar Aleph. So the like, Mamish moved. And me, Shiva guy hardly knows English. And yes, I tried to teach him that the Ghana and Gazlan stole it from the thing. So I was a choshev guy, so I knew the word burglar. So I kept on telling him, so the burglar is chayiv kefil, or he's chayiv kefil to his back. Ahin, the burglar ahead, the burglar ahin. And after like 3 weeks, he says, "What's a burglar?"
Oh no.
Yeah, so over here we have a Ganav and a Gazlan. So a Ganav is chayiv kefil. You said that's a burglar, correctly?
Burglar, right?
And the person who just snatches it out, he's not chayiv kefil. Accordingly, just like the chiyuv of kefil is only by a ganav, so So to the other knossos of Arba v'Chamisha is only by a Ganav and not by a Gazlan. So if someone goes into someone else's rishus, he takes his sheep, runs out, and slaughters it, he's chayav dalad v'hei. Technically, if someone meets someone out in the field and just grabs his sheep out of his hand and he's toveach mocher, he shouldn't be chayav dalad v'hei because he's a gazlan, he's not a ganav. Now we just started off our case over here that he hitmin b'chorshin, he was hiding out where the animals were eating, and he snatched the animal and he did a little mashicha, okay, and then he was shochet. So he's going to be chayav dalad v'hei. So Gemara says, 1 minute, that's not a ganav, that's a gazlan. He just came out to where the animals were eating and snatched it. That's not a ganav. That should be considered a gazlan. So it's sort of like a zaytig akasha, because we were really talking about if you have a gneva before the tvicha or both together. Okay, so if anachnu here. So the Gemara asks, "V'kiven dira'ohu gazlanu." I said I don't understand what the words are, but the Gemara doesn't just say that someone was hitman b'chorshin. The Gemara thought ra'u, they saw that he was hitman b'chorshin, that he was hiding. So if they saw him and still he came and took the behema, so he didn't do it secretly, right? He did it when he was seen. So that's not considered a gazlan. That's considered that's not considered a ganav. That should be considered a gazlan. So why does the Gemara say the Yechayev Arba v'Chamisha? L'chayr he's a gazlan. And to that the Gemara answers, no. Even if they saw him, he's still considered a ganav because he was trying to hide. In other words, the difference between a ganav and a gazlan is not if he managed to do it without being seen, but did he exactly when he wanted to be seen. So if he wanted to be seen, so then he's a gazlan. He just walks up to the guy and snatches it out. That's a gazlan. But if he was trying to hide, even if lo alach lo, he wasn't matzliach, they saw him, but he's already considered a ganav. Okay, Adkan, the Gemara really finishes. Rashi has a very, very interesting thing, which I never thought about. We said that someone just goes over and snatches in front of other people, so then he's considered a gazlan. Rashi says every time you have two witnesses saying that someone stole, so he's not a ganav anymore, he's a gazlan. If you see him on the CCTV, so he was. But if there's two witnesses, so there were two people there seeing, which saw that he went and stole. So why is he not considered a gazlan?
Based on this last one, answers it. He goes
So
and hides
very
after.
good. So based on this, we already answered. Rashi in the Kasha he says a ganav, he's hiding from the person who owns the money, right? He doesn't care how many people see it. In other words, the difference between a ganav and a gazlan is not whether stam people see him, but whether the guy whose money it is. Because if I'm taking your money, I don't want the person's money, he should see me. I don't care about the other people.
You do. Okay. Rather they say that he's not afraid of Hashem. He's only afraid of Hashem.
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. But the difference between a ganav and a gazlan is whether he's hiding that the person is not afraid. The other people will see him snatch the money. They're not gonna mix in. It's not their money. What do they care? If the person whose money it is, he's gonna stand up. So that is interesting. That's the difference between a ganav and a gazlan. Not whether he's in total secrecy hiding, or other people see it, but whether the people who's in question, the people whose money it is, whether they're gonna see him or not.
No. I have to leave the house. No, I go to
So we're holding?
Well, the gazlan need to know me.
No, the Gazlan Echadami. So what is a Gazlan? So there's a difference between a Ganav and a Gazlan. A Ganav is in secrecy and he's scared of people. And the Gazlan is not scared of people. And it means, we said the people means the owner. That was the owner. The owner, he's scared of the owner. Some people he's not scared of. You find Lashon of Zayla by somebody who takes it b'koah, and I guess he called it in broad daylight in front of the person who he's stealing from. Shenema by Gzola Sachanis Mi'adam Mitziva Yargeu b'Chanisa. It's a pasuk when it's describing the strength of Ben Ayob and Yehoyada, and it says that there was a Mitzri that was coming to fight with him, and he snatched the spear at the end of the Mitzri, and he killed him with his own spear. So by Yigzol over there doesn't mean in secrecy, it means head on without any fear. You also find the Lashon of Zela by the story of the Bali Shechem. Over there it's talking about Yiftach, Avimelech. Avimelech was Shofet. He was the Shofet. Not Avimelech, the Melech Plishtim. Avimelech, the Jew, who was one of the Shoftim. And then Hashem caused it to be a machlokus between him and the Baal Shem, people of Shem. And it brings the pasuk over here. We'll look at the pasuk. וישימו לו בעלי שכם ערבים על ראשי הערים ויגלו את כל אשר יבוא עליהם בדרך ויגל אבימלech. So the Baalei Shem, they were fighting with Avimelech's people, and they made ambushers, Ma'arvim, Orev is ambush, on the tops of the mountains, and they stole anybody that would pass by on the road. And Avimelech was told, and that was the instigating the war between the people of Shem and Avimelech. So this is also the word by Yigzalu. And over there, it sounds that also it's going to be that they snatched. They means from the people themselves. They didn't go and rob when they weren't looking. They took it from the people openly. So each one bought a pasuk. Both of them agreed. It's not machlokes. Both of them seem to agree that Zela means when it's head on. And the Gemara wants to know why did Rabbi Bava not use the pasuk of Rabbi Yochanan? The Gemara does not ask why did Rabbi Yochanan didn't use the pasuk of Rabbi Bava, the pasuk of Yigzal Sachanus. So the Gemara's not going to ask that.
So the article says because you would assume that we would bring the first pasuk, not the second.
And this pasuk is this is in Shoftim, and this is going to be in Malachim. Amalach, the Mitamri, Atmure, Logas Lani, and over there they were hiding. It says Ma'arvim, they were hiding, they were ambushing. So they were ambushing, that means that they were a bit timid. So Yochanan says, oh, it's not a pshat. How to come with Tamid, they just wanted to ambush in order people shouldn't see them. People would see them, they wouldn't come down the road, they would go the other way, they would turn back. So that's not called that they're scared. That's just a technique in order to be able to catch them. But once they caught them, they went head on. So that's why that doesn't show any problem. That tells Gezela they did it head on with the people. So everybody agrees that that's the point of Gezela. And when the pasuk talks about Geneva and Aleph Behei, it says after Geneva, not Gezela. And how do we come into this? That the Chorshin, the forest over there, is that called that it's open or not? And the Gemara says that is called hidden. That they do hide. They hide. Since they're hiding, even though, I guess Rashi says the Chiddush is even though they don't know who the owner might be, and maybe they're taking it in front of the owner, but they do try to hide as much as they can. They're not going boldly. After that, the rest of the Gemara, the Mishnah is Agarata about the subject we just spoke about, and that is the difference between a Ganav and a Gazlan. So it starts over here, famous Agarata, Shalot Hamid Vesevechem and Zakai. If they Torah Beganav Yosem Begazlan. How come the Torah is more machmir on a Ganav more than a Gazlan? A Ganav means they does it in secrecy, and a Gazlan means he does it openly, and the Torah is more machmir. What's the Torah more machmir? That is Chayv Kefil, it's Chayv Dalet Behei. The Gazlan only has to pay back. There's no din of Kefil or Dalet Behei, and the Ganav does. Why is Torah more machmir on a Ganav than a Gazlan? Amlahen Zehish v'Kvod Eved l'Chvod Kono, v'Zelohish v'Kvod Eved l'Chvod Kono. This one he equated the honor of the servant to the honor of his master, which means that the people and Hashem is the same. It means he's, the Gazlan. The Gazlan doesn't differentiate. Both of them he's not scared of. He's not scared of Hashem. He's not scared of people. But the Ganav did not equate the honor of the slave to the honor of the master in a way that he made that the honor of the slave is even more than that of the master. That's how Rashi explains the words. Well, you can say that it's a euphemism, really means the opposite, and he made the Eved to be more than the master. Why? That he imagines, he thinks, he's acting as if Hashem doesn't see, Hashem doesn't hear. So it says Ayin Shalmata, which means the earthly eye. It means the opposite. It means the heavenly eye. That he made the heavenly eye as if he doesn't see, and the heavenly ear as if it doesn't hear. So that's a euphemism. Sakinor doesn't want to say it in a chutzpah way. So it says that you should understand that it's the opposite. So he is scared of people, and if he would know that Hashem is looking, he would also be scared of Hashem. That the Gemara takes as a hanacha, but he makes as if Hashem doesn't see. He's imagining as if Hashem doesn't see. There's an interesting word, the word kavayachol. What does the word kavayachol mean? People use the word kavayachol, that it means not literally. But here you see it doesn't mean that. Here it's very literal. It just means that when Rashi says in Yuma, they point out to look at Yuma of Gimel over there. Rashi says kavayachol means whenever you want to say something that's not derech eretz, so you say kavayachol. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean to say that it's not mamash. I think it has a lot of ramifications. We use the word kavayachol. It's almost, but not really. But here doesn't mean that. Here it means it's really. He's really making that the eyes of Hashem don't see. Yes. That's not. But he's not making as if he's making it that Hashem doesn't see. Asa, I'm some.
I shall not.
I'm about to kilo in a row. It says kilo already.
Oh, that's a really.
Asa, what's kavayachal? So it doesn't. It's a kavayachal. I think it fits very, very much, and it's important. I think it's important to know.
I think we're not very well. We know that he's still Hashem. We know that he's just so for some reason.
What's the some reason? What's the some reason? What's the some reason?
Well, we know.
So what's the some reason?
That I wasn't. I knew that the Hashem existed, and I knew that I was doing wrong. But it's fun. I knew Hashem then. Just I know just as much as I know Hashem today. For sure, there's no question.
That's Rashi, and I just put up the Rashi.
Doesn't this come from the word Yachol, meaning able?
Can you say it again, please?
Doesn't this word have two prefixes, and it's coming from the word Yachol, which means able?
Yes. In English, they would say "as it were," and if anybody can tell me what that means, when you want to say something in the English, if you translate kaviyachol, you say "as it were." What does that mean? What is
As if it were.
as if it were? Is it or was it not? What would be an example of the expression "as it were"?
As if it were, it's saying, or as
You say that it's not to be taken that way.
is that the literal translation, as it were?
I think that's how they translate it usually. Am I?
Compare it
Is
like a
that a usual expression, as it were? No, I'm getting it wrong.
No, as it were, as the thing.
Am I got it wrong? I got the expression wrong.
I'll say as if.
Oh, that's a good.
Okay, makes sense.
Say Yom Aleph.
I test some of these.
Let's get the Rashi meanwhile.
I would see what, and as long as you accept that whatever event you would be taking revenge of was also orchestrated by Hashem. The good, bad, and the ugly, it's all orchestrated by Hashem. So to take revenge about a situation which was
As it were,
orchestrated by
As it were.
you
See, Rashi Yuma Daf Gimel. If anybody's interested in this, but I think that it has a lot of ramifications other places. So Rashi
dictionary
said,
here. In the dictionary, it says as it were, but it also says so to speak or purporting to be.
what does that mean? What do they mean to say? It's true or it's not true? You're saying sentence and you say in middle, as it were.
No, but it's only on the level
So
of.
to speak, because I don't think you can say that Hashem has an ear, that he has an eye. So it means so to speak, as if for us to understand, we're going to put something on Hashem that we really can't. We couldn't
What
really
would
do.
be a sentence that a guy would say, as it were? Like nothing to do with Hashem. How would you say, where would you stick in the expression, as it were? What's an example of as it were?
I'm gonna drive this plane as if it were a car.
No, that's not that's not the expression. That when you stick an as it were in the middle of a sentence and you continue.
Do you want it at the end?
Okay, if anybody could here's Rashi, let's give him a base. Here's Rashi. Ani Omer, Rashi explains his own shot. The fish, Shadava Kashu Loma Shakadosh Baruch Hu cuts for Yisrael. Over there it says that Hashem doesn't want the avoda of Am Yisrael. He wants the avoda. He wants it to come from Aaron, not from the Jews. So over there it doesn't mean that it's not true. That's what it's saying. But since it's a hard thing to say, Kashu Loma Shakadosh Baruch Hu cuts for Yisrael. Omer Kavayachol Kloma Akachenu Yom Haken. Like we have to say, Ki'ilu Evshalom Haken. The Chen Kol Kavayachol Shabbatalmud. Whenever it says Kavayachol, it means something, but it's hard to say. The question, that's the question the gears over there.
If it's Kibu Efsha, so then it's as a word, no?
Okay, but it's not saying that it's not. That's what it's saying. It's saying Hashem doesn't want over there. The Gemara is
We
saying
want to say Kiru because we don't want to say it.
because we don't want to say it, but really it's happening. Just they don't want to say it. So I think whenever we say Kaviyachol, we don't mean to say that it's not. We don't say to me that it's not so. We mean to say that it's so, but it's hard to say. Okay, I just had this yesterday, so I was back to the Gemara. Where are we? So since this person is making that Hashem doesn't see, so that's why he's worse than the Gazlan who knows that Hashem sees. Come on,
But
he does it anyway,
he does it anyway. But at least he's not making Hashem less than the people.
right? But the Gemara attributes it to the fact that he sees it, doesn't see, not that he's not scared of Hashem, but that is if he doesn't see, and if he Okay, and if he would,
He needs the money.
and but a ganav that's scared of people, even though he needs the money, he's still scared of people. So that's worse than the gosling.
Pasuk says, "Ein Hashem roeh." Hashem doesn't. I mean, they're not
Plus, he can bring you soon.
The project that he brings there finishes.
That's what people say. That's the quotation. They say Hashem doesn't see.
Not that.
Means he could have said that they do Hashem does see. Maybe they think Hashem does see, but he's not scared.
Yeah.
Or he'll take the punishment anyways. But there's no. They say that Hashem doesn't see. Shenema. He's going to bring psukim here that are going to show this idea that they say Hashem doesn't see. Shenema. I'm not sure why this is still waiting over here. I'm not sure what I did wrong. The people who take deep counsel to hide their ideas and they do their actions in secrecy and darkness. Another pasuk, they say that Hashem doesn't see and the God of Yaakov doesn't understand when they do evil. Another pasuk, they say that Hashem forsook the land, Hashem doesn't see. All these psukim that say that there are some people that say that Hashem doesn't see, and that the pasuk, the Gemara is saying, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is saying that's worse than the Ganav, that's worse than the Gazlan. That the Gazlan doesn't say that. But whatever, he needs the money, whatever the case is going to be. And even though Hashem sees, people see, but he has to take it anyway.
It's interesting because the Yochanan ben Zakkai is the one who tells us Talmidim,
Amar Shemayim.
and the person says,
Very nice, very nice. And he says that that's the point of the Ganav. Very nice, Ashkar. Very nice, very nice. Next Gemara, what are we doing here?
As long as you stopped, can you say it into the microphone? I didn't hear the very nice.
The very nice. Rav Pinchas said he referred to another Gemara which is very similar. That when Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was dying, so his Talmidim, one brachas, his Talmidim asked him, Borchenu, something. And he said, Halavai, that you should fear heaven the way you fear people. And they said, Ad Khan, that's all. So he said, Halavai, that it should be as much because Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, because we can look it up.
No, it's Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai who they asked. I'm not sure if maybe Elazar asked him. I think it was Talmidim.
And he said Halavai, Teda, because you see, when a person does an Avera, he says Halavai, people shouldn't see me. And he knows, and he doesn't, and he's not thinking of Hashem, he's doing the Avera. And he's more concerned that people are seeing him. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is consistent when he talks about people's nature is like that. And here he says that that's why a Ganav is worse. Interesting, very interesting. In Gemara, similar. Amar Rabbi Meir, Mashal Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Gamliel, Mad Avodoma. They said a mashal in the name of Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Gamliel. I'm sorry. What does the comparable do? The Shnei Bnei Adam, Shayu Beir. There are two people in the city. Both of them made a banquet. One of them invited everybody else, the whole city, besides for the nobility. One didn't invite anybody, only for his family, whatever. He made a banquet, didn't invite the people, didn't invite the princes. Which one deserves a bigger punishment? The one who invited the multitude and didn't invite the nobility. So too, that here he's concerned with the people, and he's not concerned with Hashem. And the last Gemara talks about the difference. We're talking about the difference between a Ganav and a Gazlan. That a Ganav is chayiv of Dalet Vei, and a Gazlan is not. And now the Gemara talks about the din of Dalet Vei. That the din of Dalet is by Seh. That the payment for Tavuch Mocha is going to be 4 or 5. 4 for a sheep, 5 for an ox. Why is that a difference? Why is that so? Anybody remember from Rashi? See how important work is. The ox does work. The sheep doesn't do any work. It just sits around and eats and drinks, and then they share the wool. Maybe they take the milk, but it doesn't do work. And when you steal, and he took away the man's work, he took away his truck, the shore. That's just how he plows. That's how he does work with. So that is more severe than taking away a sheep that didn't do malacha. So you see.
Well,
Right, that's next Gemara. This was Rabbi Meir. And now it goes to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai again. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai already come and cover the brios. The ox walks on his feet. When you steal it, he just pull it. It goes. And Ganav didn't have to embarrass himself. But the sheep that he wanted to steal, he had to put it on his shoulders. And that's more degrading, demeaning, and therefore, so now he's a ganav. So the ganav, so don't steal. Who told you to steal? So Pinchas said that it stole by somebody that stole because he needs food. So he's not excused, but still, he's not doing it because he wants to make a lot of money. He's doing it because he's hungry. And the pasuk in Mishlei does say such a thing that le'yevuzu l'ganav ki yignov, the malay that he's hungry. But the pasuk compares a ganav to someone who's mizana. That someone who's a ganav, he did a bit of area. He has to pay up for it. He has to pay 4, 5, 7, whatever he has to pay. But understandable. He was hungry. His family needed food. So that he filled up his because he was hungry. So okay, we understand him. It's a better avera. He has to pay. You have to pay a lot of times. But he's doing it because he needs it. Mashenkin, someone's mazana, so then he's unexcusable. And when the husband finds out, he's going to kill him, and the husband is right. But over here, we're saying that the difference between the shor and the seh, that let's understand that he had to steal because he was hungry. Not that he was excused, not excusing him, but we understand him. And for the sheep, he had to even undergo the embarrassment in order to. So there's only 4 times, but the ox said it didn't have any embarrassment, so then 5 times.
Someone who's shopping, so he takes out a roll. Someone who's stealing at the end is
Yeah.
taking a roll, so he still has to pay, and they catch him. Right.
Then when you have a movie star that steals perfume, and she's worth millions of dollars, and she's a sick person.
That's not right.
No, they have
Oh, yeah?
stories all the time.
But the question is, if we're going to call,
Rich
I once heard from Drusha from Ruvain Feinstein that he said what that the Goyim, they always call this like insanity. All the Turim that they have for insanity and the Jewish law doesn't exist. Like we say, there must be Meshuggah. But that Meshuggah is called evil. Like the Meshuggah is going to be that he throws away his money. That's the Meshuggah. But someone that takes out of people's money, we're not going to call him Meshuggah. It's called evil. You have $1 million, kasha. But that's evil. And I think it's an important point that not to give the Torah of insanity. The Chazal, they wouldn't give this temporary insanity, just enough to do that very.
Even excuse murder now. It's
The Gemara says they know them. Everybody has temporary insanity when they're doing a favor, but that's not the kind of insanity that bothers you. Okay, new Mishnah. I didn't do it so well, so we'll do it together. You're not allowed to raise bein badaka. Is there a term for bein badaka in English?
Yeah.
It means sheep and goats.
domestic animals.
They don't have any real word. They don't have.
Is behema, right?
Domestic would mean
Yeah,
also
that's
a cows
fine.
also, right? So they wouldn't. They
Make
just say
it-
small.
Okay.
They didn't have, but they don't have a word. We found it. What? Flock. Flock is called dafka bein badaka. Okay. So that would mean sheep and goats, that you're not allowed to raise them in Eretz Yisrael. You're not allowed to raise them in Eretz Yisrael. What are you supposed to do? You're not allowed to raise sheep in Eretz Yisrael. Avol Megaldim b'Syria. In Syria, you're allowed to. Syria, sometimes it has a lachas of Eretz Yisrael, sometimes not. That's called Kibbutz Yochid, that David conquered it before he conquered Eretz Yisrael. So doesn't have the same level of Eretz Yisrael. Is it in the Eretz Muftachas? It is included. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be conquered, but first it's supposed to conquer what's closer to the mainland, and then to extend. And so David did it in the opposite order. So therefore, it's called the Kibbutz Yochid. It was not in the whole Am Yisrael. It's not considered the whole Eretz Yisrael. So there are certain leniencies in Eretz Yisrael in Syria compared to Eretz Yisrael. So in Syria,
That was then. That's not now.
you want to know about now? Why is now different? Is now different. So it's going to say the reason is because I think I didn't see the Gemara enough yet. I think the reason is because people who have sheep. Well, Pinchas had a different reason. Pinchas said,
What does it make
okay, I thought the reason is because of Geneva. That is that people that they used to pasture in other people's fields.
And what's the difference between Eretz Yisrael, Syria, anywhere?
Chutz Laretz also.
It's built in Geneva.
So Pinchas said the pshat is because we want Israel to be more miyushav. It should be places where they could cultivate it and grow things. And if you have places that are going to be for pasture, so then there's not going to be as much cultivated land. So we'll find out as we go along. So far it says you're not allowed to in Eretz Yisrael. Syria is mutter. Or Midbar shel Eretz Yisrael is also in the places that are not inhabited. The Midbaros, the places that are what will be the translation?
Desert, but
Places where not inhabited, not uninhabited places, because it's not going to be a field anyway. Although it doesn't belong to anybody, you're not stealing from anybody. Whatever the pshat is going to be. That's the first halacha. Let's try to make some. That's one mishnah. What's that do with Bava kamma so far?
I think it should be mazik. No?
So if it
We
has to do
said,
with
we
this-
said because of
then it's
damage.
not, then it's not breaking mazik. What is that?
If we're talking about stealing, then that has to do with damages.
Right, it's stealing, but if it has to do with Yishuv Yisrael, then I'm not sure. So that was the first halacha. Maybe try to highlight a little bit. Ein v'gadlim bein b'daka b'Eretz Yisrael. The next one is Ein v'gadlim tana golden b'Yerushalayim. You're not allowed to raise chickens, roosters in Yerushalayim. Why? Not all Eretz Yisrael, only Yerushalayim. Because in Yerushalayim there's kachim, you have karbanis. And tana golem is problematic. What's that? Rashi says because they go into the ashpos, they go into the dung hills, whatever, the not dung, I don't know, what would you call it? You'd call it any kind of garbage piles. What's that? Garbage dumps. And they might find over there shvatzim that are matame. And they might bring, Rashi says, even a small amount. And the town of go all around the house. And if someone's going to have kachim, will have korban meat. And it's going to become tame. They make them tame. Make the people tame, make the kachim tame. The lo kanim beretz Yisrael with ne'ataris. And also halacha that kanim also are not allowed to raise town of golem, not only in Yerushalayim, but the whole Eretz Yisrael. Because they have to be careful about Taurus, even in out of in Yerushalayim, there's kachim very much. Out of Yerushalayim is not kachim, so the Israelim are allowed to. But the Kohanim that they have to do with the Taurus, so they have to be more careful. And town of golem would bring maybe etzem kisora of a sheretz. Ein v'gadlen chazirin b'chol makom. Also, you're not allowed to raise pigs. What's that? Pigs, yeah. In the whole any place, even in the Chuslar, it sounds like. Lo yigadel another halacha. You're not lo yigadel yeah. Lo yigadel adam masakelev. You're not allowed to raise the dog. Elam keno yikasher b'shal shalos. Only if it's tied up. You can't leave a dog that's loose. What's that?
Shal shalos. Shal shalos was
Chains. What we call a leash. Rashi says because it bites and it barks and people are scared of it. A woman, it says to talk about a woman that might have a miscarriage because with the Muslim to bring a story, I think that even if you say no, it's a little tame, but people are scared. People are scared, so you have to take that into consideration. And it's not enough that you know that it's not going to bite. So you have to in the house. I guess it's okay. But once you go out, you have to have a leash on the door.
It's a law.
It's a law.
Even Israel.
Any person nishbin nishubim. You're not allowed to make a place where it's just going to attract the pigeons. What is a nishbin? Hachim shelo yachlitu ben yonim b'nei yishuv. I didn't have. They're not allowed to make traps, bird traps. Why not? I didn't have this point. I made a mistake when I understood it. Because why? What's the problem?
Because you'll be catching other people's pigeons.
You're taking other people's pigeons. Only if it's very far away from the inhabited area. Because people have yonim, and even though they don't really own it, that's going to be the point. How do people have yonim? They put up some kind of coop, is that what it's called? A pigeon coop, and they get attracted, and they come, whatever, they put food, whatever reason, how would they make it comfortable for the yonim to come? But they never made a kinyan on them, they don't really belong to them. But that's also enough that we're concerned that people should not steal other people's pigeons. So therefore, you're not allowed to put a trap to catch pigeons in the vicinity of people because you're taking away somebody's pigeons. Back to so that's how many laws do we have? We have about Bein Badaka, about Tana Golem. Maybe I'll take away this. This Kohanim is also part of the. Maybe I'll just take off Yerushalayim and we got Tana Golem in Yerushalayim and also in the whole Eretz Yisrael for the Kohanim and. Chazirim and Kelev and Nishbin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Nishbin?
Bird traps.
we say how far 30 rees.
Yes, please.
How far is 30 rees?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. Now she says 4 mil.
Because it says in Yuma.
That
Sheva Matzah Kol Mil.
a mil is 7.5, and here it says 30. 7.5 is 15, and the 2, 30. So 30 ris is going to be 4 mil. A mil is what we call 2,000 amas. About a kilometer. So about 4 kilometers. And it's closer to a kilometer than to a mile. We say a mil, sounds like a mile, but really it's closer to a kilometer than it is to a mile. So that depends which kind of a mill.
If your mill is 2,000 amps, then that's correct. Someone will tell you that the Roman might do it more. It's 1,400. Close to 3,000 amps.
No. Ein begadol behem bedaka. We're going with the first halacha about behem bedaka. Ein begadol behem bedaka b'Eretz Yisrael. You're not allowed to raise sheep, goats in Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael. Abba megadol b'choshen. Sheberetz Yisrael. You're allowed to in the forest. Like you said, midbaros. The choshen. Why did it change the word? The Mishnah uses the word midbaros, and the Brisa uses the word choshen. Choshen is like a forest, which okay. I got the whole thing on the page. Okay. Sheberetz Yisrael. B'Surya afilu b'yishuv. And so you're allowed to, even in the inhabited places. In the chutz la'aretz is no issa. It doesn't say the reason yet. You have to figure it out. Tani dechem begadim behem bedaka b'Eretz Yisrael. Same as before. Aval megadim b'midbar should be Yehuda. Of a midbar should be Sfar Akko. So it says midbaros. Why does it say after these two midbaros? I don't know. The midbar Yehuda and also midbar that's in the border of Akko. What's that? I have no kasha, but that's not asking. By me, it's a shayla, but you, it's a kasha. That you don't have a midbar in Sfar Akko. What's Sfar Akko? Sfar Akko, the bird, that's the border, that's the northern border of Eretz Yisrael. And past that, so what's the problem?
No,
Is it out of Eretz Yisrael?
there is strip of Eretz.
And even though it's Eretz Yisrael still, so it is Eretz Yisrael, but it's a midbar. So any midbar would be more than what?
Sounds just less than usual.
Okay.
It's just
Well, I
like
mean,
an example
As far as the border.
Good.
there's no halacha.
What?
There's no halacha of after these places.
Same midbar. Any midbar.
So what's it saying?
Even though we said Behem B'Daka Zos, here's the first time it says B'Ferish. That Behem B'Daka is mutter. What would that mean? That would mean cows, donkeys, horses. The Pisha Ein goes from Gzera L'Tzibu Api Yom Ken Rob L'Tzibu Yechol L'Namod. But here it sounds like really we'd like to, but we can't because you need these animals for work. I guess the sheep you don't need what you need it for. You just need it for its wool and milk. And those things you could do in the midbar, you could do it far away from civilization. But the cows and these animals, you need them in the civilization. So you work with them. So they couldn't make it. Really, they'd like to. Really, they would. So that sounds a little bit like I think maybe I'm wrong. I said about Geneva, but that the Gemara says that the behemoth Gasa doesn't go so much in other animals. People, but behemoth Gasa, they're not choshed. I forgot why, but the raw behemoth Daka, they're the ones who steal in other people's fields. The raw behemoth Gasa don't. I'm not sure why. Okay, Pinchas, say anything about that? How come the Stam Gazlanim is only behemoth Daka, not behemoth Gasa?
Maybe there are less of them. There are less of them, and they're easier to keep track of. You have more of behemoth Daka, and it's harder to keep track of them all.
So if so, then here it says that here Blade also, and here it says really we'd like to make a gzeir on that also. It means the reason applies here just as much, but we're not going to make a gzeir because it's impossible because people need animals to work. So then, according to Pinchas, it's good that we don't. We want to make places that should be able to be cultivated to grow things. So we're still holding on to Suffolk. What's the reason of this
It can
gzeir?
still be considered of. It's just we can't. The cattle also steal and graze in other people's spend, but we can't keep them out because people use them.
But you do find here,
It could be the same
but another Gemara says that Stam Roa Behem B'Daka Pasal Eidos because they pasture in other people's fields, and Stam Roa Behem B'Gasa don't. So I'm not sure. Over there it says they don't steal as much. That Gemara, this Gemara I wouldn't be able to tell, but that Gemara says that Behem B'Daka are more going into other people's fields than Behem B'Gasa. So I have to look over there. Now it says.
We finished with the Brisa?
Hold on, I said wrong. I take it back. I think I'm not sure. I'm working on it together with everybody. That I said the reason is because you need the animal behemoth gasa in order to work. It doesn't say that. It says behemoth efshalavi mechutz la'aretz, behemoth gasa efshalavi mechutz la'aretz.
Wasn't it first the reason?
It just says. I thought this is the explanation. There's the explanation. Any Rashi on this? No Rashi. Behemoth gasa tzvicha b'yish. Oh, so Rashi. I did say Rashi. Behemoth gasa tzvicha b'yish or the maso yilach b'yisha. You need them. So that's the point. You can't bring it for chutz la'aretz. That's not the point. The point is that you need them. You need them to work with. Where I get them from, where I import them from. What's the Gemara saying? If the point is about the work, so what does it have to do with the point you can get it from chutz la'aretz? I need them in order to work every day. I have to plow in the field. I need it to I need it to ride on. I need a behemoth. So here
it is similar to what you're saying. If you need them for work, to go all the way to the midbar, get your cow to work.
But here it talks about chutzlaretz. Behemoth you can bring from chutzlaretz. Behemoth gasi you can't bring from chutzlaretz. Why does that fit in over here?
Well, he's talking about Chutz La'aretz because that's what he was telling them to pasture them.
Not chutzlaretz. Talking about mid boros and stuff. You're not right.
A lot of the
You need-
suggestions
you
here
need
were
bonus.
to do it outside of Eretz Yisrael.
It's a mid boros is far
You
akko.
need 1 or 2 animals to work with, but that doesn't give you a hectare to have a whole flock of them.
Why can't you bring them from chutzlaretz? Another question.
Yeah, if you're working with them, they have to be.
No, it's how many work. So is the point because you have to work with them? That's not to do with chutzlaretz. It means I need them every day.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't understand anything more of chutzlaretz. So if this wanted to say because that's only enough for the ones you work with. But how about more? I don't know what you want them. What do you want more for? Why do you need more? For meat. That also for meat. That's not the point of doing malacha with them. You can't bring them for chutzlaretz. Why can you bring them for chutzlaretz?
We're suggesting to pasture them outside of in Chutz La'aretz. Then I wouldn't be able to use them for work. I'm not saying. I don't think it's saying that you're importing them from Chutz La'aretz. We were just suggesting that we should pasture all our animals in Chutz La'aretz.
But you can't. You're saying the reason why
We can't do that with cattle because every time I need them for work, I gotta go to Chutz La'aretz.
and you can't do that.
And I
And you
can't
can't do that. And about a sheep, what do?
when it's time for shearing, okay, bring them all in or whatever it is.
They share it over there.
It's a one-shot thing. You don't need it. You don't need them as often as you would a cow. To bring it every time you plow your field seems like it would be very difficult.
It's a bit surprising also that the Gemara jumps from midboros and chorshin to all of a sudden chutzlaretz. Like what's that?
But it's been jumping around with all these.
So okay, I'm still confused. Maybe tomorrow will be better. Today's the rough copy. Even though we say you're not allowed to raise them, that's what Lachta we said, but you're allowed to keep them before the Yont of 30 days, and also also before you're making a wedding. So you have to get prepared. So 30 days before we do allow you. Does Masha mean that you're allowed to leave it grazing? Hefker? I'm not sure. It could be even the Mashas are going to be there to tie it up still. You have to make it in a place that it's not going to be grazing around. We'll get to that, I guess, more. And also that's the famous Gemara about tying it to the bed. That's maybe it's not as famous as tying the Korban Pesach to the bed, but it talks about this also that they would tie it to the bed maybe for the Shloshim Yom. So we'll see what you have to do during those 30 days. So in general, the whole year for no reason you're not allowed to, but before the Chagim, getting ready for the Chag, you need animals to bring for Karbanas, maybe for meat, and also before making a Simcha. So you have to have animals for the meat. So you're allowed to have it for 30 days as long as doesn't say as long as. It says within 30 days. Now it says, so these words I don't understand. Rashi says it's going to be talking about leaving it after the Chag. And you might have thought that you have a 30-day permission, even if it's not going to be the whole 30 days before. It's going to be 30 days. And what's Havamina? Once after the Chag. Just because I got it. The Gemara say something I don't understand. This is why we stopped. That if you had it a week before the Chag, you might think you have another 2 weeks after. You're allowed to have altogether 30 days. What's Havamina? I don't know. This word is also not clear. The nafakle regel, I don't know what that means. If the yantif is over, the e nafakle regel after the yantif, even if it's after the yantif, and from the time that he bought it, it's not yet 30 days. You might think, lo name it lassen. Lo name.
Also, Mr. Shah with the Ashim,
This is not the Sakrat the Chamina. It's not the Sakrat the Chamina. It's don't say this. And then don't say that he has 30 days even after altogether 30 days. Once it's 30 days, once the regular is over, he's not allowed to keep it anymore. And the next one I also don't know, 2 more lines. But Tabach. I don't know what the words mean. So I'll continue tomorrow. So there's not to go. This still looks like a nice, easy sugi tomorrow, maybe. So we'll see tomorrow. Now we have time for Chumash.
I'm just thinking, after today,